You're watching The End Zone, sponsored by Lucky Star Casino.
And welcome to a college football media days edition of The End Zone, along with Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels. Josh, I can smell it in the air. Yeah. College football is right around the corner. I just got back from Big 12 media days, and you are getting ready to get on an airplane next week and go to SEC media days, so we've got a lot to break down.
Yeah, it feels good. When you get to media days, there's a lot of things in the summer that kind of get you looking ahead, but media days is the big one, right? That's like the unofficial start of the new season. It just feels good.
The Thunder run went so deep into the summer that I usually feel like I'm a little bit more, I guess, prepared and ready for media days, and I kind of have that football fever maybe a little bit more than I did this year, but it didn't take long just being inside the building and hearing people talk about football to get the juices flowing and ignite the fire that is my just overall fandom for the sport of football.
No doubt.
It is getting close, and it was a lot of fun in Frisco over those 2 days at the Star. Jerry always does it big at that place. And the Pop-Tarts Bowl representatives were there handing out free Pop-Tarts, so you can't beat that.
Do they still do the free beef jerky? Is that still
They did, but they reduced. They went to the small size bags instead of the.
I still would have loaded up though.
Yeah,
I'd go home with a dozen bags of free jerky.
I got a few. I got hot fudge sundae Pop-Tarts and wild berry Pop-Tarts, and I'm pretty set on Pop-Tarts for the next couple weeks.
Solid.
So excited about that. Well, Big 12 Media Day has already come and gone, and it's very interesting without having OU and Texas obviously in the conference. There's not really that one, I guess, program in general that demands a spotlight the way that those two did. Deion Sanders, I think, probably just as an individual demanded the most spotlight over the course of the 2 days, and probably followed quickly by Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy, just the giant character that he is in general. But, I think Oklahoma State's very interesting, as we've talked about on this show. You returned one starter on offense, 3 starters on defense, a complete overhaul in terms of the roster and the coaching staff, right? I mean, all the assistants are brand new to the facility. So Mike Gundy, we were able to catch up with him for a moment at Big 12 Media Days, and he talked about just the overall coaching and roster overhaul.
Well, we got 65 new players. 35 of them didn't get here till June 1st, so it's very unusual. The players have worked hard this summer. I like the coaching staff. We're going to find a lot more in the first 2 weeks of August than we have in any of my other seasons.
I mean, they've got a lot of work to do. He talked a lot about the quarterbacks, and he basically has said, I don't know. They're both really talented guys. They both look good, but neither guy has even attempted a forward pass in an actual college football game yet. So that's something that they are attempting to figure out, and I would guess, educated guess here, that we probably see 2 quarterbacks in the first game, and maybe that's when somebody will establish themselves. Real quick, one other Gundy comment before we have a little fun with Media Days. Cowboy culture is something that he has spoken about year after year after year. He's been on the job for, 21 seasons now. That has been the bread and butter, right, of Oklahoma State football. So when you have a brand new coaching staff, and what did he say, over 60 new players on the roster, I asked him, how difficult is it to install or instill Cowboy culture within the locker room?
Well, it's a challenge because that's something that's created over 6 months, a year and a half, 2 years. Now we have to make it happen fast. That's why I say August practices will be really important.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, the timeline for everything in college football is now just sped up to this unbelievable rate.
100%, and they're not alone, right? There's a lot of teams that are in a similar boat, a lot of turnover, but after last season, Oklahoma State, I think, is probably one of the bigger enigmas or question marks in really the country, but especially in the Big 12. I think there's so much unknown with them. We've talked about it before. Whenever nobody expects anything from Oklahoma State, that seems to be when they kind of jump up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by the Cowboys this season. I'm really interested to see what they look like, coming up here just a couple months in the opener, but really all year. They have a chance to be a very, very interesting team, I think, in 2025.
2 talented quarterbacks with Zane Flores and Haas Haney, but you don't know what they're going to do in game situations. All 5 starters on the offensive line are brand new. You have some talented running backs. I think that's probably going to be the strength of this football team. All those receivers, Stribling and Presley and Owens all move on. Offensively, it's kind of I have no idea what you're going to get. Defensively, they had some stars last year, but Colin Oliver and Nick Martin were hurt.
Right.
And, the defense was awful down the stretch. And it probably needed a giant reset anyway. But yeah, they are a giant enigma, and really it's hard to place your confidence in any one area other than Mike Gundy generally gets the best out of his football teams when they fly under the radar. 100%.
He took, some ownership of, the defensive struggles last year, saying that was a little bit on me, what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so they've kind of a little bit of like a back to the drawing board in a way, and kind of almost a start from scratch, which might not be a bad thing, right? After last year, we're 3-0, and the end 3-9. I mean, that's really unheard of, really. So it's going to be very interesting to see what they look like whenever we get to the games here coming up next month.
There does seem to be a chip on the shoulders of everybody at Oklahoma State, and talking to different people at Oklahoma State, it kind of seems like they are very, very motivated. What that turns into on the football field, we don't know, but they are definitely motivated by the finale of last season. One of the big items at Media Days was the reference to Mike Gundy in the College Football 26th edition of EA Sports. Look at the hair, man. I mean, Mike Gundy with the giant hairdo. This was blowing up all over the internet, and Mike Gundy was asked about it multiple times. He just kind of laughed it off and said that he wished he had a head of hair like that. I did have to ask Oklahoma State star defensive lineman Iman Oates about what he thought of Mike Gundy's video game character.
Man, I think that they should try again and start over. But I feel like, Gundy is a pretty known guy, you know what I mean? Like, everybody knows he's known for the mullet. Like, I think that's the one thing they shouldn't have messed up. If they messed up any facial feature or anything, the mullet should have been right. But, it's always next year, I guess. No disrespect EA, I think I'll get it right eventually.
I give him the mullet. He didn't really rock the mullet anymore, but I mean, if you're gonna have a Mike Gundy character in your game, you might as well give him the mullet. That's what he's known for.
You got a lot of coaches, a lot of players in the game, so I get it. But yeah, he looks like the Texas fan that got turned into a meme last season.
Oh yeah,
that kid?
Absolutely.
That's what it reminds me of. The hair, it's like an afro.
So
almost.
awesome. I know that his son even said that EA did Mike Gundy dirty on Twitter as well. So pretty awesome stuff. Speaking of Mike Gundy and the character that he is, Deion Sanders, held court in Frisco earlier this week. By far the biggest star at Big 12 Media Days. Everywhere he went, there was a mob of people surrounding him. Maybe the biggest moment was actually at the press conference podium, which rarely happens at a Media Days, where he was asked about Joey McGuire spending all that money in the transfer portal, and Deion had some fun.
Yeah, Joey got some money. Joey, where you at, baby? Spending that money. I love it. I love it. Once upon a time, you guys was talking junk about me going in that portal. Now, when everybody go in the portal, it's okay. It's cool when they do it. But it's a problem when I do it. Ain't that a rap song? I love Joey. Joey, I know you out there, baby. I love you, man. I appreciate you. Can you send, a few of those dollars to us so we can get some of those players, too?
I love that Deion is begging for money to get players. Of all people to do that, Deion is hilarious.
He's not kidding, though. Texas Tech is spending some money. They've had quite an offseason, and Tech in all sports is kind of they're kind of flexing their muscles.
By the way, billionaire Cody Campbell, former Tech offensive lineman, was at Media Days as well, and he's responsible for a lot of that spending.
Yeah,
all right, we'll take a timeout and preview SEC Media Days next here on the End Zone. Welcome back to the End Zone, along with Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels. With Oklahoma State and Big 12 Media Days in the books, we start to look forward to Oklahoma and SEC Media Days in Atlanta, Georgia next week. 4-day event compared to the 2 days that the Big 12 had at the Star in Frisco, but should be a jam-packed 4 days of SEC football content. And who better than guys like Lane Kiffin and Brian Kelly to kick things off Monday?
I know. It is an absolute circus, obviously. Covering Big 12 Media Days for a long time. The comparison, it's a little more hoopla, a little more TV, a little more fanfare at SEC. It is quite a scene. But, yeah, day one, Lane Kiffin, that's a great way to get it started. And Shane Beamer, Brian Kelly. You got a good slate there to get things going on Monday.
Day one also has 3 of Oklahoma's opponents.
That's right.
Represented with Ole Miss, LSU, and who was it? South Carolina. All teams they lost to last year, and they're going to have to turn that around.
No doubt. And South Carolina, really one of the talks of the conference. Lenore Seller's back this year. LSU, certainly in that same boat with Garrett Nussmeier coming back. There's a lot of quarterback turnover in the SEC. two teams that have their big guns back there in Nussmeier and Lenore Sellers. So LSU and South Carolina, both teams that I think are trendy picks to maybe be. I think Texas, Georgia are those top teams that everyone really likes. Alabama maybe too. But right in that next tier right there is LSU and South Carolina. So interested to hear from them on Monday.
Well, speaking of Texas and Georgia, they are the featured headliners in day 2. Georgia, Texas, Auburn, and Tennessee. Call me crazy, but Auburn to me is one of the more interesting stories, I guess, for our interest at least, because of the fact that a former Oklahoma quarterback is going to be representing Auburn.
Yeah, I was very excited when the player participant list came out last week, and Jackson Arnold was on there. Obviously, some question, was he even going to be the guy at Auburn this upcoming fall? And obviously, I think they've kind of answered that by bringing him to SEC Media Days. Yeah, he'll get, I think, plenty of Oklahoma questions from the Oklahoma media that'll be in attendance on Tuesday. Obviously, Auburn comes to Norman on September 20th, 4th game of the year. So I think Jackson, if he's not naive to it, I'm sure he's preparing his answers now, but he's going to field more than a couple Oklahoma questions, I think, on Tuesday.
I will fight back a little bit on the I don't know if he would be the guy. You don't spend the money that they spent to bring Jackson Arnold in, which I think at one point last year, his money was more than what Bo Nix was making in year 1 in the NFL, who was the offensive rookie of the year.
Right.
He got paid, so I think he was absolutely going to be the guy. Now that doesn't mean you send him to Big 12 or SEC Media Days, but I think 90% I would guess of his questions are probably going to be geared somewhat toward OU, and it doesn't help that you are going to go to Norman in the first month of the season.
I know, exactly. It's going to be such an epic scene. I'm just so curious for Jackson, from the time that it ended to now, and obviously Oklahoma's got their new shiny toy and John Mateer, and Brent Venables is gushing about him, and OU fans are gushing about him. Just where is Jackson at in his relationship with Oklahoma 8 months later? I'm very interested to see what he says. Because again, he will be asked.
He will be asked by pretty much everybody. Day 3, Wednesday, Oklahoma, Alabama, Florida, and former Oklahoma offensive coordinator Jeff Lebby, as well as Zach Soman, who's the athletic director there. The ties with Joe C. Retiring. I mean, there's a lot of interesting storylines with Wednesday, Day 3, Oklahoma, and all the Oklahoma relevant stories.
Sure. I mean, obviously for us, Oklahoma's by far going to be the headliner here. We just talked about Oklahoma State being a big enigma in the Big 12. Oklahoma is that, I think, for a lot of people in the SEC. And it's been funny, the hype train over the offseason, I feel like for Oklahoma is maybe higher nationally than it is here. I think
that's right.
Very backwards
from
how it usually is. And so I'm just, we haven't heard from Brent Venables in a formal setting, or John Mateer or Robert Spears-Jennings or Mason Thomas, who will be the other players there, since the end of spring ball over 3 months ago, right? So it'd just be nice to hear from everybody again. And again, the hype train for Oklahoma has kind of grown over the course of the summer, more nationally than locally. So it'll just be kind of fun to get to hear from all the guys again.
And look, Brent hasn't been around as long as Mike Gundy to, I think, maybe generate the sort of confidence within the fan base.
Sure.
That he's going to bounce back after some bad seasons. 2 losing seasons in 3 years, and really the only 2 losing seasons this century, right? I mean, it's been a tough stretch, so that's probably why there's locally at least lacking that same confidence. But I do think that there's going to be a lot of interesting Q&As with the Oklahoma contingent.
No doubt.
Look, Day 4 is maybe the throwaway day of all 4 of the days. Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, A&M.
I mean, glued to the Drinkwitz
plays
presser?
Missouri, I guess, this season. But other than that, in terms of local interest, at least, there may not be a ton.
Yeah, no doubt. Like you said, Oklahoma only plays one of the teams here. I mean, you have a Stoops brother. I guess you always have that if that gets you going a little bit. But no doubt, not as much of a headliner there on Thursday.
Is Mateer going to be the star of Media Days?
He might be. John Mateer can handle himself behind a microphone, which is, not for nothing, but the guy played at a pretty small high school, wasn't recruited that much.
Right.
He was at Washington State last year. I remember his first OU press conference, he made a joke about, I've never seen this many cameras, on me. But he handles himself pretty well.
Yeah.
I think John Mateer is going to be a pretty popular guy on Wednesday, no doubt.
SEC Media Days next week. Josh Callaway is headed to Atlanta, and we'll talk about it all next week. All right, it's Moving the Chains next here on The End Zone. Welcome back to the End Zone. It is time for Moving the Chains along with Josh Callaway. I am Colby Daniels. I'm going to fire questions your way. You got to pick up a first down. So depending on how well you answer the questions, I will give you positive or negative yardage. All right, out of the gate, Thunder Summer League in full swing. So give me your best Thunder Summer League hot take to this point.
Nikola Topic is going to be a big player for the Thunder this upcoming season.
This season, okay.
I'm very impressed. You know, it's just a few games in Utah. And look, he's still clearly raw. He's 19 years old. He didn't play for over a year after he tore his ACL. But his feel for the game, the way the ball zips around, he's getting to the rim at will. He's not really finishing as much as you'd like. I think that's probably just rust, frankly. I'm in on Nikola Topic after these first few Summer League games. I'm excited to watch him some more out in Vegas.
I mean, you got to think physically, he's probably at like 10% of what he might be by the time the season starts.
No doubt.
But the mental aspect of it is what you have to like. His, like you said, feel for the game, his ability to play the point guard position, I think in the way that most people like to see it played is going to be very valuable, especially for that second unit throughout the regular season.
Sure.
So let's go positive 5 yards on first down.
Good
so
start. We'll
you're off
that.
to a great start. All right, switching gears to Oklahoma. Earlier this week, Josie announced his retirement. So the impact of that announcement on Oklahoma athletics.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we all knew this was coming at some point, right? I mean, Joe's getting to his late 60s. Like, you're going to eventually want to move on, spend more time with family, stuff like that. I think, you know, the timing of it is pretty advantageous for Oklahoma and for Joe. Like we said, at his time in his life, but also, like, they got Jim Nagy in the new front office, and college football is changing so much. College sports are changing so much. The job of AD is far different now and going to be than what Josie has done for almost 30 years. So I think it works out for everyone. He's given Oklahoma a runway. He's still going to be around at least until 2028 as the AD emeritus. So the impact is huge. They need to nail the hire, but I think Josie still being around will help make it a little more of a smooth transition.
There were a lot of conversations at Big 12 Media Days among media members about just at some point is there going to be like an athletic director that basically handles all the other sports and then, you know, the GM and like there's like a football front office that's completely separate and maybe that becomes a big part of it and maybe that's a part of the big equation for athletic directors across the country.
Sure.
I'll give you 2 yards on that and set up a third and
manageable
short here.
third down, yeah.
All right. OU team leaders in receptions, yards, and touchdowns this season, but you have to pick a different receiver for each category.
Receptions, yards, and touchdowns. That's going to be tough. I'm going to go receptions. I'm just going to go with Deion Burks. I'm going to go nice and easy there. I think he's going to be the go-to guy for John Mateer in that slot role. I think any kind of third and 5, you know, you're going to be looking for Deion Burks. Yards, let's go with Giovanni Gibson.
Okay.
I think, you know, he may not be necessarily ready for the week 1, but I think by the time ST play gets around, he's going to be there. And I think he's going to be your big play guy. So I'm going to go with Giovanni Gibson. Team leader in receptions for touchdowns. Can I cheat, not do a receiver, and do a tight end?
Yeah, I think
I'm going to go with Will Huggins, the Pitt State transfer.
Okay.
You know, big body guy. I don't think he's going to be a huge part of the offense overall. But I think in the red zone, big body guy, I think they're gonna look for him in the red area. So I'm gonna go off the wall completely and go with Will Huggins. If I can't go with one of the top 2 receivers, I'm gonna go with
I thought you might go with the other Gibson. You threw a curveball at me there. So I'm going to go 1 yard and set up a fourth and short. So you're going for it, obviously. There's no punting in moving the chain. So they didn't want to name a preseason Big 12 football poll because Arizona State last year was voted last. They ended up winning the conference. A lot of people in the Big 12 felt like that hurt them. So what is your top 5 Big 12 preseason poll?
Oh, this is tough because the conference is wide open. You know, it could go any number of directions. I'll go with Kansas State 1. Iowa State 2, Arizona State 3. Oh, boy, this is where it starts to get hard. I'll go Texas Tech 4.
Okay, they spent a lot of money, got a lot
of
talent.
money, and then number 5. Let's go with Colorado. Let's go with the Shocker.
Wow,
Let's see Deion Sanders gets it. I like Caden Salter.
Okay.
You know, Liberty transfer quarterback in there.
If he even starts, I mean, they brought 2 quarterbacks to Big 12 Media Days, so who knows what they're going to do there. Look, I thought that if you named at least 4 of the 5 that I had in mind in any order, I was going to give you the positive yardage. I would have had Baylor, I think, at the 5th spot instead of Colorado.
There's 5 more teams.
There's 5 more teams that I think are in competition for sure. So first down, Josh Callaway
2 for 2
in this edition of Moving the Chains. The Thunder are on a summer spending spree. We'll talk about it to wrap up the show next. All right, wrapping up the show here along with Josh Callaway, I'm Colby Daniels. Thunder Summer League is currently taking place, and normally that would be the only Thunder headline, but the NBA champs are on a summer spending spree.
I'd say.
Already re-signing SGA. This week, they have agreed to deals with both Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren, both guys getting a guaranteed 5-year rookie max contract. J-Dubs is worth up to $287 million. Chet Holmgren's worth up to $250 million.
It's incredible. I mean, Oklahoma City has locked up their big three, like you said, with J-Dub, Chet, and they already had Shea last week, and they're still under the luxury tax for next season. Sam Presti, just a magician, and SGA also got the 2K cover. So just the unbelievable year for SGA continues, and his buddies got signed too. Just unbelievable.
The gang is back together. They're staying together for the foreseeable future. Listening to Dallas radio the last couple of days, being at Big 12 Media Days, I was hearing a lot of conversations about, are those guys worth those contracts? The answer is yes. They may not be putting up numbers like the best player on the 8th best team in the league, which is some of those ridiculous comparisons, but it's what they do outside of scoring. SGA's your MVP. Those guys do a lot of other things other than score 29 points a game or whatever you're trying to compare them to. It's absolutely worth the money, and they are only just finished year 3 for both guys.
They're
so
both
young guys.
improving still.
Yeah, both still scratching the surface of what they're capable of. All right, that's it for this week. Along with Josh Callaway, I am Colby Daniels. SEC Media Days next week here on The End Zone.